Hey internet. So I figured I would make a follow-up video to my Dante versus Clive short I made Sunday when the fight aired. I want to address certain things. The things that I didn't like about the fight, and mainly the toxicity that is coming from Devil May Cry fans who really, really love Dante. So I want to come out and say this right now. I rooted for Dante. I'm a huge Devil May Cry fan, not the biggest Final Fantasy guy. The most I know about Final Fantasy comes from Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy Strangers of Paradise. I haven't actually sat there and invested myself into the series until recently because Dante and Clive were fighting. So I did some research and I was looking through all the blogs that were posted, looking at the predictions and stuff that people were making just to figure out like how this fight could go. So of course, Clive wins this fight, and as a Devil May Cry fan, after my research and me looking into it myself, I said, okay, that makes sense. I think Clive's willpower boost does give him like a slight edge that you could argue would give him that slight power boost he needs to beat Dante if it comes down to like a this is all I got type scenario, which it did. Um, so overall, I am fine with the victor. You're not seeing me go attack anybody because it's really not worth it. Once again, this is a fight between two fictional characters. I get it. Dante is a very beloved character, but you also had a lot of people who love Clive here. I'm not saying too that like I haven't seen people who are rooting for Clive talk a lot of garbage too, because they definitely have. But I'm just saying that I've seen more of the Devil May Cry hate because I feel like Dante is a much more popular character, right? So obviously fans would be a lot more defensive of Dante. Um, but overall, Death Battle is made for entertainment. You shouldn't be taking this to heart. People are acting like Clive actually killed Dante and Dante doesn't exist anymore. You can still go load up DMC5 right now and go be a badass, right? So it's really not that deep. So I don't know why everybody wants to be toxic. Like people are going out of their way to say a lot of rude shit to the the research team and anyone involved, even Torian, right, the animator. Which guys, that's so stupid. If you don't agree with the fight, then just simply just don't agree with the fight and just move on about your day. If you want to go debate somebody about the fight, sure, whatever. But overall, it's for fun. Okay, we had a good time watching this fight. This is one of the most anticipated fights of the year. It was a fight also that came out of nowhere, came out of left field. We weren't even expecting Dante to make a return. And if Dante were to make a return, we're thinking, oh, he's fighting Bayonetta again in a rematch. But no, they let him fight Clive. Totally different, totally unique, and the two match up so well that it makes sense. Because most of the fights you see for Dante are like, okay, Bayonetta, Kratos, Doom Guy, other like beat 'em up hack and slash characters, right? He has to fight those guys. Clive does fit that mold though, but a lot of people didn't think about that. Me being one of those people. But anyway, that aside, um, the toxicity because you don't agree with the outcome of a fight is ridiculous. I don't agree with certain things they said in this video, and I do want to use this as a segue to kind of go off topic a little bit and talk about the thing that I did not disagree with. I mean, that I didn't agree with. My bad. Okay, so the end of the fight, right? And animation isn't indicative of outcome, by the way. So just because they animated a certain way doesn't mean that that's what they're saying would happen, right? It's just for fun. So basically, one reason they said Clive would win is because they believe that the endurance factor goes to Clive because Devil Trigger is not infinite, and Devil Trigger can be halted if enough damage is done to the person in Devil Trigger. Now, this is really hard for me to understand why they would say this because they use gameplay also. So in game, you have your Devil Trigger meter, right? You unlock Devil Trigger probably like what, halfway through the game usually. When you get it, you start with a certain amount and then you can increase it with like purple orbs. Okay. Um Here's the thing though. That's gameplay. And them using gameplay to say like, oh, it's limited, it's kind of shaky because we know that in the game, oh, it only lasts as long as my meter. So let's just say as a player, I chose not to max out my Devil Trigger gauge. So it doesn't last as long. Are you going to use that as a justification? Then also they wanted to use Nico's analysis of the Sin Devil Trigger specifically to say that sure he can't stay in it long, but who needs to stay in it long when it has all this power? Here's the problem though. There's not a specific time limit on it. It's never directly stated, and we never actually see it. But we do know that these characters seem to be able to go in and out of this form freely, and it's not like a break in case of emergency form. It's a freely use whenever I want to form. We know this because Dante, Virgil, and Nero, if you count Nero's as a sin form, some people argue about that for some reason. If you count it as a sin form, then we know that the three of them are able to freely go in and out of these forms. And Death Battle also said that demonic energy is limited, when we haven't really seen that either, besides in gameplay. But when you look at lore, or when you look at cutscenes, for example, when Dante first uses Sin Double Trigger in DMC5, when he first unlocks it, when he, in the mission home, I think, I don't know what mission number it is, he impales himself with a sword, he unlocks Sin Double Trigger. He goes into it immediately, flies to go fight Urizen. Okay. He's fighting Urizen. During that fight, the Sin Double Trigger is unlimited. So you could also argue that it's unlimited because in a very crucial moment in the game, it's unlimited. Meaning that, okay, well, if push comes to shove, these characters can just stay in these forms for as long as they need. Also, if you use gameplay, if you fight Virgil at the end of the game, he just goes into Sin Double Trigger whenever he wants to. See what I can do there? So I get that part. There's a lot of shaky things about the Double Trigger argument. I feel like they really didn't have to go into it. All you really need to argue is that the Sin Double Trigger has no way to stop Clive's willpower boost. Sure, the power gap is there's no power gap between the two per se, but there is a slight edge for Clive because he can give himself the slight boost he needs to overwhelm Dante if they do get into one last final beam clash like they did in this fight. So fair enough, right? And no one's saying that Clive has this no limits fallacy. He can just get as strong as he wants when he wants. No one's saying that. They're just saying that, okay, if he needed a little boost of power, and that little boost of power was the deciding factor, that it would give Clive the win. That's all people are saying. And I'm fine with that. That's okay. Like I said, if you think Dante wins, that's perfectly fine. But there's no reason to go attack somebody. I just told you a thing about the fight that I didn't like, that I didn't agree with, and you don't see me going around attacking people. I had a good time with the fight. It was a great watch. I was very excited for it. Rarely do I actually get excited about a fight, mainly because Torian came back to animate it. I can't compliment this man's work enough. But I said, this is a tough fight for Dante. And I should have made a prediction video. And in the prediction video, I probably would have said something like, that's not like a sports analyst here. I'm like, but Dante has a hard fight coming up against a character who matches him in hacks, finally, because most people that Dante gets put against don't match him in hacks, that potentially matches him in power, could be possibly stronger. So yeah, Dante has his work cut out for him for this fight. He definitely does. This is not one of those cakewalk fights. And it's so funny how people can just nitpick these scenarios as to how Dante wins. Dante could just do this and just do this and just do that. That's the fun of this whole battle. Sure, you can shape it however way. Death Battle chose to make it this way. Clive wins. That's okay. They also could have come out and said Dante wins. Who knows? Okay. Overall, it's just meant to be enjoyed. Death Battle has come out and said multiple times themselves, we are not the final answer. You are free to disagree with us. You are free to make your debunk videos because there's already people making a crap ton of them screaming about Dante should have landslided him. This is not even close. Why did they even do this fight? They just hate Devil May Cry, even though Dante beat Bayonetta when they fought. You know, they don't exactly hate. They just feel like this character wins. So that's what they're going to put. They can say whatever the hell they want. You can agree with it or disagree with it. But that's all you need to do. Agree or disagree. That's it. And just move on. If you don't like the fight, don't comment about it. Don't talk about it. Move on about your day. Okay. You don't have to subscribe to Death Battle. You don't have to watch Death Battle. You can leave it alone. It's not that deep. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that. Sorry for the long rant. I just have to talk about that. Anyway, subscribe to your boy.